See, my goal here is to uncover things that I can put together to file a whistleblower form to the IRS. There is actually a form like that. Okay, so people don't know this, but there is a form that you can file to the IRS if you uncover things like this because of how he structured his business. I did redact a few things. Okay, I redacted to remove his personal identifiable information, PII. I did my best. If there's anything that is PI that pops up out, I will apologize because I did my best to remove anything apart from his name, because his name is public information. But apart from his name, I have removed things like addresses, employer identification numbers, social security numbers, stuff like that. That is all being redacted. I did this redaction myself. So I want to put that disclaimer out there so that you know that any redaction that you see on this form is because of me. What you see here is a Form 990, a return of organization exempt from income tax. The purpose of this form is for non-profit organizations. And everybody knows what a non-profit is. A non-profit means you're not doing it for profit. That's the best definition of it. That means you're doing something from your heart. Okay, you don't expect any profit. And because you're not for profit, you don't have to pay income taxes. Simply put, that is not income. Salute to you, well stacked. So that is the thing. So Tariq's organization, and if you doubt this, you can go back and look at his most recent fundraising. It's called Melanoid Nation Foundation. This is it right here. I'm going to highlight this or put my mouse around it so you all can see it. If possible, blow it out, extend it out so you can see the page where you can move me to the side. Okay. It's called Melanoid Nation Foundation. I have redacted the employer identification number. I've also redacted his address. That's why you see the black marks. I did those things myself. If you see here on your right, his gross receipts is $91,928. I want you guys to keep an eye on this number, $91K. Right here, his tax exempt status is 501c3. That means he's electing to be a nonprofit. You have to tell the IRS in part 1, in your summary, you have to tell the IRS what this foundation is or what your goal is. This is Tariq Nasheed's goal. You guys should, this is the first thing you should pay attention to right here. It says briefly describe the organization's mission and most significant activities. This is Tariq's mission. To advocate for justice and human rights for melanoid people of African descent. Welcome to the blacks. Welcome to the blacks. To advocate for justice and human rights. It was for justice and human rights, not to shit on Africans, not to shit on Caribbean people. Okay. For justice and human rights for melanoid people of African descent who have been adversely affected by systemic racism. So the initial business plan was white supremacy. Okay. I'm sure he doesn't like this. They're going to tell him. His goons will tell him. But I'm on him. Okay. So that's the first catch. You get where we're coming from, right? He was one of us. All right. He was one of us. So something may have happened along the line. Maybe somebody got his girl, some Nigerian dude got his girl. I don't know. If you go down here, this is very concerning. The number of voting members of the governing body. What you're seeing here in line 3 is not very typical with nonprofits. You can ask anybody that has formed a nonprofit, runs a nonprofit. Even if you are the guy with the idea, there's going to be a few people around it because he can't do this work by himself. Remember, his goal is to be an advocate. So to go out there and preach the word, like Jehovah's Witness against systemic racism. That is his goal. But he is, if you see here, he is the only voting member. A voting member of a nonprofit doesn't mean you have a share in it. It just means that you can have a say in how the organization plans things, how they fundraise, how they do things. That is why this line is there. And most nonprofits, you can look up any of the other nonprofits that you know, churches and all these other nonprofits. Most nonprofits will have more than one person. This is a one-man show, like Umar. You see, they're all the same people. Number of voting members for Tariq's organization is 1. That's line 3. Line 4, number of independent voting members. You're going to find, like I said previously, you're going to find most organizations have more people in number 1 and even more people in number 2. But if you don't have people in number 1, which is usually one person starts an organization, it's too small, it was just him. Number 2, as the years go by, is going to change because as the organization is growing, you're going to have independent members that help drive that fundraiser. Okay? And here is a classic example of people that go out there and tell the world that they are foundational to this country, that they love this country, but they try their best to contribute very little to the country that they say they love. They do very little. They are loud mouths, but they do very, very little. We're not playing games. I'm going to get the feds on him. I'm not playing. You guys think I'm a joker, right? You don't know what you're dealing with, man. I'm going to get the feds on this motherfucker. Just watch it, man. Give me about a year. I'll get the feds on him. He better do his shit right when it comes to taxes, because I will get him. See, I used to run a tax business, so I know how this shit works. So, number 3 and number 4, what you're going to see with most organizations is you're not going to see just one person. But in this case, it's one person on number 3. And if you see one in number 3, in number 4, you're going to see multiple people, because usually the people in number 4, they don't get a paycheck. They're just there to help with functioning an organization because it's a nonprofit. It's a nonprofit. So if you're a nonprofit, number of voting members of the governing body is 1. He's the only one that can vote. So he's a lone man. Number of independent voting members, he has 1 person. And I'm going to get ahead of myself. From what I studied while going through this documentation is Tariq Nasheed was running a business that is supposed to be an LLC for most people, or a Schedule C, which is a sole proprietorship when you file your regular 1040 tax forms, the normal income tax that me and you would file every year. Because he didn't want to pay any taxes whatsoever, he ran an LLC through a nonprofit. It's a way to evade taxes. It's tax evasion. And the IRS would typically not immediately audit this. They rely on whistleblowers to audit nonprofits. Number 5 is first scam that you need to watch. This is not scam number 1. Total number of individuals employed in 2016. Tariq Nasheed said his foundation employed 0 people. This organization made $90,000. He's the sole voter, sole independent voting member. He employed 0 people. That means that he's solely responsible for all the $90K that he made that year. Good. It's very possible that the wages can be consultants, but you have to issue 1099s to these consultants. And there is a section around Schedule O on the same form that you have to itemize who these people are. So good question. We're going to get there. But good question. Okay. So He says that there are no employees, which means there's no W-2 issued. And over here, total number of volunteers, this answers your question. Typically, if you have volunteers paid and unpaid, you're going to put that number here. Those are the people that go on your 1099. He left that blank because it says if necessary. So if necessary, you put a number. If not, you leave it blank. You don't put 0. That is why number 6 is blank. So technically, Tariq Nasheed in part 1 told the federal government, or the IRS, that he's the sole maker of this company. He's a sole decision maker. There's no independent voting members of this corporation. He doesn't have any volunteers and he doesn't have any employees. That's what this form says. Okay. So then the question will become, where does the $91,000 come? Here's another game he played. If you look at number 8, contributions and grants. Contributions and grants on number 8 is the most that most people that run nonprofits get their sources of funding from. Any nonprofit, look this up. Any nonprofits money comes from GoFundMe's, all these donations, drive-by donations, all these things they do to collect money. Okay, because that is how a nonprofit get money. Or some grants, like a state grant, federal grant, stuff like that. Tariq Nasheed says that his Melanoid Nation Foundation, whose mission is to advocate for justice and human rights for melanoid people of African descent, didn't have a single dollar donated to it. That is not possible. If this is an organization that made $90,000, but it had no contributions, no grants, nobody gave them money, no. That means that the $91,000 came from a business that he ran underneath this company and didn't want to pay regular taxes on that business, so he kind of funded it through a nonprofit. That's a crime, actually. Well, it's tax fraud, if you really want to be honest. It's tax fraud. But again, the IRS does not prosecute these things until you do a whistleblowing, or if they catch the audit. And that is very consistent with tax cheaters. This is why, if you look at my list of tax forms that I have, when this FBA thing kicked off and a few Pan-Africans and other guys got an idea of what he was doing, he stopped filing taxes. So he hasn't filed taxes for the last 3 years.